Los Angeles at 3 in the morning isn't quiet, it's just tired of pretending to be alive. Neon still hums around warehouses, and puddles of oil shimmer like filmed skies. I've been driving for 12 hours straight, feeding on gas station coffee and old playlists that sound like ghosts talking to themselves. The city's my second engine. Stop, start, breathe out heat. A ping snaps from my phone, the dull harp sound every driver knows. I glance down. Pickup location, Los Angeles County Coroner's Office, Boyle Avenue entrance. For a second, I think I'm reading it wrong. It's not the first weird fare I've had, but usually they disguise the address, administrative center or medical commons. This one's honest about death. The pay bump looks generous, double surge. Curiosity is worth more than fear when rent's late. I hit accept, shift into drive, and the voice assistant purrs, head east on Cesar E. Chavez Avenue. The freeways are ribs lit by sodium orange. As I cross the river, fog creeps up from storm drains, glowing in my headlights. I tell myself, someone from the night shift called an Uber after overtime, tech, custodian, a coroner with too many ghosts on the clipboard. No big deal. I pull into the loading bay. Lights burn sterile white over stainless doors, stenciled authorized vehicles only. Behind them, refrigeration compressors hum like distant surf. The app's timer begins counting, rider en route. I wait, 10 seconds, a minute. Around me, every window is mirrored black. Then, click. The door chime sounds from the back seat, the one that only rings when weight hits the upholstery. My rearview mirror shows nothing except my own reflection, and a shape beside it that shouldn't be there. Nights bleed together when your job depends on other people's insomnia. I know every stretch of freeway from Malibu to Montebello by the way it smells. Salt, smog, burnt brakes, cheap weed, fryer oil. I drive the night shift because it keeps me out of daylight conversations and parking tickets. I've hauled actors rehearsing auditions, a surgeon post-double shift still in scrubs, couples who couldn't wait till home to have their argument. Nothing about Los Angeles surprises me anymore. Around 2 a.m., the city becomes a giant waiting room lit by LED. People spill stories they'd never say sober in daylight. One kid showed me a duffel filled with prosthetic limbs from a movie set. A retired cop tipped me with a bullet casing for luck. Uber life. Every 5 minutes is a short film without credits. I'm decent at reading a ride's rhythm. If they talk, I become half therapist, half confessional booth. If they stay quiet, I keep the music low enough so the silence doesn't feel heavy. Strange requests are routine here. Pickups from cemeteries after ghost hunts, from studios where someone swears an editing suite is cursed, even a call once from an empty lot that used to hold a nightclub. Always a prank, always explainable, until last night. That coroner's office ping has been stuck in my head all day, like a pop song with no melody. The dead air that slid into the back seat still sits there, heavier than any passenger's weight. I cleaned the car twice today. Febreze, wipes, even cracked the doors during lunch to bleed out whatever smell lingered. Didn't matter. At dusk, the air inside the Prius cooled 5 degrees again on its own, dashboard fogging slightly each time the engine started. The seatbelt alarm beeped from the back seat before I even left the driveway. It came just after midnight, same exact ping. Pickup, LA County Coroner's Office. I stared at the screen like it had personally followed me home. Part of me wanted to toss the phone out the window, but the surge price blinked again. Temptation quantified in dollars and desperation. Logic said coincidence. Superstition said test. I hit accept. The drive down the 101 felt longer than usual. Traffic eerily absent, even for that hour. Billboards slid past like washed-out memories. Each time I blinked, the arrival countdown jumped, 10 minutes, then 3, like the map knew shortcuts I didn't. When I turned onto Mission Road, the coroner's compound waited under floodlights, white walls glowing against the basin fog. The security gate stood open. I rolled to the same loading bay from last night, engine on idle. Nothing moved. The phone vibrated, announcing, "Rider has been notified." Seconds later, it chimed again. Trip started. I hadn't tapped anything. "Hey," I called through the cracked window. "Pick up for TX?" My voice bounced off aluminum and died. Then the back door sensor clicked. Weight settled into the seat behind me, faint but definite, suspension compressing, upholstery sighing. In the rearview mirror, the darkness looked thicker on one side, like a shadow inside a shadow. "You okay back there?" I asked. No answer. For some stupid reason, I started driving, figuring maybe it was a cold-footed employee, introvert type, doesn't talk. The GPS displayed a single word under destination: home, Echo Park. The longer I drove, the colder the car became. Temperature readout dropped unrealistically, 78 to 54 in seconds. A light film crept over the windows from inside, smudged by streaks that looked like fingers dragged through steam. I kept my eyes forward, but every red light reflected two passenger silhouettes when I was still alone. 5 miles later, I pulled up to a quiet apartment block overgrown with bougainvillea. Before I could speak, the seat behind me lifted, pressure gone. Trip ended automatically. Phone buzzed. Ride complete, 5 stars, TX. Payment instant, tip included. I turned around. Back seat empty. Door locks clicked on their own, as if sealing something in or out. And for a moment, the rear mirror showed my reflection joined by someone else smiling a second late. Echo Park looked half drowned in fog, city lights trapped under it like coins in dirty water. I crept down the narrow street until the address on the app matched an old apartment building with stained stucco and Christmas lights still dying in July. The windows were blacked out with tinfoil. No sign of my passenger, and yet the car's climate control refused to warm. Breath misted in front of my face and vanished. From somewhere behind, plastic crackled softly, like fabric stretching under weight. When I looked, the seatbelt buckle was tilted forward as though someone were leaning against it. "Trip's over," I said quietly to the mirror, tone half joke, half prayer. That was when the condensation bloomed across the rear window, slow, deliberate strokes forming something too cursive to be random. 4 letters, shaped in fog. Home. I froze. Thought about snapping a picture, but the phone's battery had already fallen from 60% to 14 without warning. Then the window cleared itself, the letters melting back into streaks. The interior light flickered twice and stopped, like the car was thinking. The app chimed, ride completed. I exhaled. Payment posted instantly, plus $15 tip. No one tips that fast. The digital receipt listed TX, female, 5 rides total. A little voice of reason clawed to keep control. Glitch, maybe. Someone spoofing the system through a test number. But the next notification slid in before I could decide. "Would you like to add this rider to your favorites?" My thumb twitched over no, but the button pulsed green, waiting. As I hesitated, the back seat belt recoiled suddenly, snapping tight across invisible shoulders before loosening again with a sigh. I put the car in drive and coasted downhill, counting every streetlight until sunrise, daring myself not to check the mirror again. For the first time in years behind the wheel, I drove the speed limit. The next night, her name returned before I even logged on. A notification pulsed asleep on my home screen. 1 unaccepted ride request, TX. The timestamp, 12:04 a.m., same as before. I hadn't opened the app. Habit pushed curiosity faster than fear. Maybe the system thought the last trip never closed. Maybe customer support could fix it if I replicated the glitch. That's what I told myself anyway. I accepted. Instantly, the pickup pinned itself to the same spot, County Coroner's Office loading bay. I laughed out loud too quickly because the sound stopped my heart from doing something worse. "Sure," I muttered, starting the car, "let's pick up a ghost." Halfway down the 110, my GPS flickered, map freezing mid-route. A gray overlay spread outward from the coroner's icon, pixelating streets like infection. Then the voice assistant announced, "ETA unknown." I killed the phone, restarted it. The app came back blank, no rides in queue, and yet music from my playlist began playing all on its own. A song I hadn't heard since college, same one that was playing the night of that pileup on Temple Street. Coincidence, sure, still different enough to raise Deuceflesh. By segment 3 of the drive, the phone buzzed again with notifications from an online driver forum, threads titled Coroner Office Pickup Glitch, dating back months. Each entry ended abruptly after a user typed they'd accept one last fare. Screenshots looked like mine. The name TX, identical route, identical 5-star rating. That did it. At the next exit, I pulled off and hit cancel ride. The button blinked, but never registered. My voice assistant answered instead, trip active. 4 lanes away, sirens sliced through the humidity, ambulance lights spiraling in opposite directions, crossing each other like DNA strands. For a moment, the reflected colors painted my dashboard crimson and blue, then purple, then black. When normal streetlight returned, the app showed a message overlaid across the map. Thank you for completing your service. Under tip amount was a smiley face drawn with a finger in fog. By sunrise, my nerves were fried. Sleep didn't stick. The phone kept buzzing phantom alerts that vanished when I looked. Around noon, curiosity hardened into obsession. I needed a human explanation. The coroner's building looks less sinister under daylight, all tan concrete and bureaucratic decay. I parked on the visitor lot and squared up my courage under the lie that I was there to reclaim lost property. Inside, the air smelled of bleach and refrigeration. A clerk in blue scrubs barely looked up from her monitor. Uber pickup records? She asked flatly when I stumbled through my story. She keyed for half a minute, nails clacking like metronome ticks. We don't exactly have a departure lounge, sir. What name? Tamara X? T-A-M... She stopped typing. Yeah, she said after a stretch of silence. Pedestrian fatality. Hit and run East Temple Street 2 weeks ago. You with family? I lied. Friend. She turned the monitor slightly. A death photo, routine ID shot, glanced against the fluorescent light. Dark hair matted, bruise blooming under left eye. My stomach tightened. Your system ever show, deliveries? I asked. Like drivers called here by accident? Couple weird ones lately, she admitted. Phone numbers that loop back on themselves. Look, she pulled up a log. Driver ID, R. Moreno 46, my own. Marked arrival pending, dated the same night Samara died. That's not possible. I didn't even... Footsteps intervened. A security guard approached, radio hissing. Sir, you can't be back here. He guided me toward the exit with polite firmness. As he did, I caught a glimpse of a paused video feed on his desk. The grayscale image showed a Prius parked outside the loading bay. Same dent on the bumper. My plates. The timestamp read 11:59 p.m., 5 minutes before my first ride request ever pinged. The screen flickered once. In a single frame, a second silhouette sat in the back seat. It began the moment I touched the ignition that night, the phone lighting up before the engine even turned over. Same pickup, same name. My thumb refused before my brain could. I should have powered everything off. Instead, I accepted. Crossing the bridge into downtown, the map pulsed faint blue under the windshield, the route already ablaze toward the coroner's dock. No detours this time. The city around me looked like a set built from shadows, high-rises wearing bruises of neon, alleys breathing steam. The gate was waiting open again. I eased forward until the streetlight carved 2 pools of brightness along the sedan's roof. The back door latch clicked softly. Tamara? I dared. Glass caught the outline first, a woman's reflection floating in the rear window, but leaving the seat empty below it. She looked late 20s maybe, long hair damp like she'd just climbed out of rain. A faint halo of blue bruising circled her neck. Why did you bring me home again? Her voice wasn't an echo. It came from the glass itself, vibrating through it in hummingbird tremors. My throat dried. I didn't bring you anywhere. You did. She sounded exhausted more than angry. Every night since the accident, you keep turning the same corner, the same 15 minutes over and over. The mirror flashed a brief, impossible reflection. My face behind the wheel, and another version of me in the back seat beside her, eyes closed. Where do you want to go? I asked, pleading. Where you left me. The GPS redrew the navigation line without command,
arrow spearing west along Temple Street, the intersection of her crash. Traffic signals ahead flickered from green to a dull arterial red and stayed there, washing the windshield in bloodlight. Tamara's reflection leaned across the glass. For the first time, condensation fogged her outline like frost. "You don't even remember it, do you?" Something inside my chest crumpled. Memory tried to surface. Screeching tires, a flash of white fabric, the thud I told myself was a curb. Her image blurred. Drive. I did, back toward the stretch of asphalt that still carried a ghost's geometry. Each block we passed turned street lamps off in sequence behind us, unlit arteries closing. By the time I reached the intersection, the stoplight wasn't blinking red anymore. It was blinking heartbeat white. That intersection felt smaller than memory. Puddles still carried the rainbow film from flares long washed away. I pulled to the curb on instinct. The passenger side mirror caught Tamara's outline standing in the crosswalk, motionless, haloed in the hiss of the corner streetlight. Her face blurred and sharpened with each passing second, a camera trying to decide whether I was real.
Everything started to rewind inside my head. That night, 2 weeks ago, same route, same playlist, same smell of burned coffee riding the air vents. I'd barely slept the day before, a triple shift trying to pay insurance on a car that was never truly mine. Somewhere around midnight, I dropped off a fare near Silver Lake and merged onto Temple without checking blind spots. The dash cam recorded the first half of the turn, then glitched to black. I told myself it overheated. When I got home, there was a bruise on the fender, nothing bigger than a fist. I deleted the corrupted clip, filed an incident report for minor collision with trash bin. 2 days later, a traffic citation landed in my inbox, time-stamped within the same minute Tamara Shu died on that street. "You left me there," she said now, voice overlapping with itself through the windshield, every syllable chasing an echo. "I didn't know," I whispered. "I didn't see you." The air turned rigid between us, molecules organizing into grief. "You saw something, though. You just decided it was safer to call it nothing." She stepped, or maybe slid, toward the hood. The crosswalk lines painted across her like scars. "You drive bodies every night. You should recognize one when it leaves yours." My hands trembled on the wheel. Headlights from an approaching truck carved between us, and for half a heartbeat she vanished. When the dark refilled, she was inside again, seatbelt buckled neatly. Outside, steam rose from the asphalt, as if the intersection itself were exhaling. I looked down at my palms. Faint blood-colored dust coated the creases, luminous under the dashboard glow. Memory finished loading finally, every lost second returning in one blinding frame. The thud, the mirror, her reflection folding into glass. And the next, quieter realization that the voice on Channel 19 last week warning about a hit and run on Temple Street, that was me. I parked on the shoulder half a mile from the intersection, lungs scraping for air that didn't feel borrowed. The dashboard clock spun through numbers like it couldn't find the right time zone and finally froze at 12:14. Same minutes stamped on the coroner's chart. I pulled the dash cam from its mount with shaking hands. The device felt warmer than it should, plastic almost soft, as if the circuitry had been running without pause since the night I deleted that file. The thumbnail list glowed back to life, blank folders, then one labeled Recovery, Do Not Delete. The video opened to darkness. I heard myself humming old lyrics, the lazy drift of a driver trying not to sleep. The streetlights blurred. A figure stepped off the curb a heartbeat before the feed fractured into static. I scrubbed frame by frame. On the 23rd image, just before impact, my headlights caught her face. Peaceful, eyes already closed like she was bracing for something expected. I slammed the lid shut, swallowed a sound that could have been a prayer or a curse. When I reopened the phone app for distraction, the map had changed again. Instead of a direct grid, red lines spread outward from Temple Street, splintering across the city, downtown, Highland Park, Santa Monica Pier. Pulse points connected by a single tag, current ride active. Each mark pulsed in synchronous rhythm, like the beating of a heart trying to remember itself. "Stop," I whispered.
The word fogged the windshield. The condensation spread outward, shaping a sentence I couldn't finish reading because the final word wrote itself backward. Forgive. The phone vibrated.
A service notification appeared, but where normal text should be, it only showed my own driver profile photo, eyes open too wide, mouth parted mid-breath. Heat bled up through the seat. The engine wasn't running anymore. Somewhere behind me, the seatbelt clicked into place with a slow mechanical certainty. Tamara spoke softly, as if afraid any louder sound might wake someone else. "It's your turn to be the passenger." The ping came before she'd even finished the sentence. Single chime, pure and familiar. Pickup location, home. Except the address wasn't hers, it was mine. On reflex, I tapped accept. A pale green route snaked across the screen, ending at my own apartment lot in East Hollywood. I didn't remember parking there or leaving, yet the status already read arrived. "Why?" I asked the dark. "To finish the drive," Tamara said. Her outline shimmered faintly in the glass of the instrument panel, half static, half reflection. It only ends when both of us reach where we belong. The city outside bent at new angles. Towers leaned toward the freeway like eavesdropping giants. Billboards stuttered through different ads every second, faces dissolving between laughter and terror. Street cameras tracked the Prius across every intersection long before I reached them. At my building, the porch light glowed wrong, blue instead of gold. The app announced, "Rider in car." I hadn't opened the door. Tamara was there now, full as daylight, bruises healed but eyes vacant with exhaustion. She spoke gently, professional almost, the way I talked to fares sliding into the back seat. Destination? Her question landed heavier than it should. Words failed, so I said what she once said to me. "Take me home." The GPS redrew itself, one line back toward the county morgue. Freeways emptied, roads slick from phantom rain. We passed every lane closed to everyone else. Traffic lights bowed green. The city stretched like film running too slow. She glanced at me. "You should have stopped that night." "I know." "Then stop now." I eased the car to the edge of the 101 overpass. Below us, the neon haze of Los Angeles pulsed like a lung. The navigation voice, stripped of humanity, began looping, recalculating, until it blended with the hum of power lines. Tamara reached across the console, cool hand resting over mine on the shifter. "Let's trade seats," she said. "You've been driving too long." When I blinked, we had. The steering wheel vibrated beneath her fingers. She pressed the pedal, and the city tilted forward. The Prius slipped through a green light that never turned red again. The dashboard clock resumed counting, speeding past the frozen minute. The hiss of wind rose, then cut in half, as if the tape of my life had been spliced right there. A dispatch came through on a police scanner buried somewhere under my seat. Vehicle 2017 Prius, major collision, eastbound 101, occupant deceased at scene. Tamara's reflection looked peaceful now, eyes closed exactly as before. "We're here," she said. I never felt the impact, only the glide, the sensation of dropping between two layers of glass. Los Angeles blurred beneath me, all its geometry soft as watercolor. We floated down Figueroa, headlights carving tunnels through neon haze, storefronts bending inward like reflections in wet foil. Tamara drove with the serenity of someone who'd already practiced dying enough times to make it gentle. "Almost there," she murmured over the rumble of tires that no longer touched real pavement. Billboards shimmered above us, memorials, accident warnings, insurance slogans. Each one replaced another face I recognized, passengers from old shifts, people who'd confessed secrets in the back seat. They were all smiling the same too-wide grin, each mouth mouthing thank you in perfect rhythm. Streetlights flickered out behind our trail, one after another, until the city looked like a patient flatlining. She turned onto Temple without signaling. The Prius began to dissolve around us, paint dusted away like pollen. I saw my own reflection in the window, eyes open, calm. "Is it always like this?" I asked.
"For a while," she said, "then the map redraws itself." Ahead, blue strobes ignited the sky. Police cruisers crowned the overpass, silhouettes cut by the pulsing light. I realized we were already there, the crash scene pinned by flares. A crumpled Prius rested upside down against the divider, windows shattered, that same dent glinting through smoke. A paramedic knelt beside an unrecognizable shape half hidden by tarp. The radio on his shoulder rasped through my heartbeat. Victim, time of death 12:14. Tamara slowed. "They're calling it for you." I wanted to look away, but gravity held my gaze. The figure under the tarp exhaled one last wisp of breath that curled into our car as fog. She smiled faintly. "Now you can stop driving." The horizon flashed white. Every GPS voice in the city whispered, "Arriving now, arriving now, arriving now." For a moment, I truly believed I had. Sunlight flipped the city back on like a bad fluorescent bulb. News choppers carved slow circles over Figueroa while commuters inched past what was left of the wreck. Those who glanced through the barrier saw nothing more than a tarp, a scorched sedan, and a coroner's van idling with its back doors open. By 8 a.m., fresh traffic had washed the night clean. Somewhere in Koreatown, a different driver, new hire, 3 weeks in, still chasing ratings, slid his phone open for a breakfast shift. His name was Evan. He stretched in the driver's seat, half smiling at the quiet before LA clogged up again. Ping. Pickup location, Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. Rider, R. Moreno. He frowned, but the surge was excellent, and he hadn't heard the stories yet. Easy money, he told himself, hitting accept. The navigation zoomed outward into a skein of red lines spreading from Temple Street just like veins. ET 12 minutes. The drive went smooth. Morning rush dulled by some unspoken caution. Even the sirens from last night sounded exhausted. When he turned onto the coroner's side drive, a single bay door stood half open. Within its gap, a faint shimmer, like heat rising off pavement. Trip started automatically. "Hello," he called, glancing at the mirror. For half a breath, it looked like his own reflection sat in the back seat, eyes a little darker, posture too still. Then a woman's voice whispered through the speakers, drained of breath but steady. "Thank you for driving with us." By the time he blinked, the seat behind him was empty. The app flashed, "Ride complete, 5 stars." A tip notification followed, time-stamped 15 minutes into the future. Evan exhaled, chalked it up to lag, and pulled away. In his mirror, the coroner's doors were closing, but a shape stood in the shrinking gap, lifting a hand as if hailing another ride. A week later, an IT crew for the rideshare company met in a chilled basement of their downtown data center. Screens lined the walls, each filled with maps of pulsing green routes spiderwebbed across Los Angeles. Dozens of ghost trips flickered, identical start and end points, identical timestamps, no assigned drivers. "Server echo," one tech said, sipping energy drink. "Maybe a loop from archived GPS clusters." Another zoomed in. The names on the ghost fares all matched 2 profiles, TX, R. Moreno. They cross-checked the drivers. Both accounts were officially inactive. One terminated for inactivity 2 weeks earlier, the other closed 4 years before that. In the corner of the largest screen, an algorithm monitoring driver cameras began cycling seemingly at random through old feeds. One image froze, interior of a Prius washed in streetlight gold, no occupant. Then static rolled across, and a man's face appeared, half pixelated, eyes fixed straight ahead, live timestamp. "Is that a test feed?" someone asked. "No," the team lead said slowly, "that's timestamped now." The man on screen tilted his head as though hearing them. Every open monitor blinked once, the green routes convulsing into a single red spiral centered on the coroner's building. The temperature in the room dropped, condensation crawled down the server racks. Then the speakers crackled to life with the company's automatic customer service line. "Thank you for driving with us. See you soon." Half the technicians laughed it off as an audio bug. The others watched the frozen frame a little too long and noticed 2 faint silhouettes forming behind the driver's seat. One male, one female, both smiling with the patience of people who knew the road never really ends. Drivers talk about glitches the way sailors used to whisper about fog, quietly, as if the sea might overhear. On the rideshare forums, the Coroner loop became rumor, half joke, half prayer. Screenshots circulate. A midnight request from Boyle Avenue, 5-star ratings with no passenger, payout time-stamped exactly 12:14 a.m. Every thread ends the same way, with a user suddenly inactive.
Customer service templates explain it as an echo in the system, a misfiled API call, nothing to worry about. But one supervisor keeps a printed note taped to her monitor. If the pickup address is a county facility, mark "Do Not Dispatch." She doesn't remember writing it, though the handwriting matches her own. Some veteran drivers swear a voice now breaks in over their audio navigation on the empty stretches between downtown and Echo Park, a man giving soft directions that don't match the map. Stay on Temple, keep your eyes open, don't stop. Others hear a woman thanking them for the ride, polite and breathless, before the app crashes to the home screen. You can believe in coding errors, electromagnetic interference, whatever helps you sleep. But the next time you work a shift that drifts past midnight, check the glow of your phone before you press accept. If the pickup address reads Los Angeles County Coroner's Office, take your finger off the screen. Some rides aren't meant for the living. And if you ever find yourself near Figueroa when it's too quiet and every light ahead turns green just for you, keep driving, because the city remembers its drivers, and somewhere they're all still logged in.